do if you know there's people in the workshop who really don't want to be there? Either you've been warned ahead of time, or you can just tell from the moment that they arrive that they'd rather be anywhere but here. Well, I'll tell you what I do. In moments like that, I start the workshop with an activity that I call the happiness continuum. So I say to participants that I want them to imagine there is a continuum running through the room. And at one end of the room is, I'm so excited to be here, can't wait, I'm eager for what's going to happen. And at the other end of the continuum, at the other side of the room, is, I would rather be anywhere but here. And I invite participants to jump up and find themselves a space on the continuum to represent how they're feeling about being in the session. Now, it amazes me every time I do this that people are compassionately honest with themselves and they really stand in the right place on that line. So once they're on the line, I invite them to turn to their neighbour and spend just 2 or 3 minutes sharing why they've chosen to stand where they have. And then I invite contributions from the room. So I start at the end of, I'm so excited to be here, can't wait. And I invite a few people to share, not everyone, but a few people to share why they're standing where they are. And then when I get to the other end of the scale which is, man, I'd rather be anywhere but here, I let people know that this is the end of the scale I'm interested in. And I'm really keen to hear what the challenge or the barrier is to being in the room. Now, what most often happens is people share things like, oh, we've done this workshop before and nothing changed, or, oh, I've got so much on at work and just taking a day out feels like a waste of time when I'm trying to catch up. It could be all sorts of different reasons. And here's the power. Once they have shared their reason into the room, I meet them wherever they're at. So if they say something like, I've got so much on at work, it just feels like this is a waste of time, I'm never going to get anything done, I might say something like, wow, I can hear that. I can imagine that if I was feeling overwhelmed at work, I wouldn't want to be in a workshop either. It's my intention that today we're going to learn some skills. I'm going to give you some tools and techniques so that you don't ever have to feel overwhelmed again. Or perhaps it's the common complaint of, oh man, we've done this before. We've done a values charter so many times before, nothing's changed. I might say something like, yeah, I can hear your frustration. I imagine if you have had this conversation over and over again and nothing's changed, that doing it again will feel really frustrating. So I'd like to check in with you as we go through today around what we might do differently, how we might make sure that this time the discussion sticks. And it's really as simple as that, because here's the thing. When people show up to a meeting or workshop and they have challenges or they have barriers to engagement, those reasons are really valid and they're particularly valid for them. And they're so used to people ignoring it. They're so used to people not checking in or just expecting them to be happy to be there, that giving them that time, that space, that empathy, and sharing your intention to meet them where they're at, that's powerful and it will change the way they show up in the room.